Hey friends, I I'm reflecting on something. Well, I'm reflecting and sort of looking forward to it. I have a surgery coming up, a hernia surgery. I'm flying all the way to Canada to have this done because they have apparently a really great there's a hospital up there with a really great reputation. It's all they do. Came highly recommended, and I had sort of done enough research a few years ago when I was first looking into this that it was like, okay, maybe do this one right. Um, and what that has caused me to reflect upon, and I've had a couple of conversations about this with friends and with my wife, and it's been present for me in a number of ways. And what it's kind of bringing up is, there's a way in which, for me, an event like this stays hypothetical for a long time. I've noticed this about myself when it comes to medical stuff or big procedures like this. Not that I've had a lot of them, but I've had a small handful, and um, it's almost like I don't really register it. I don't get nervous in advance. I don't think about it much. It's like this hypothetical thing that's going to happen, and then it's not until I'm like walking in and actually sort of like the things are about to happen that it becomes real for me. And but just sort of by I guess not totally by chance, but by happenstance, I've ended up talking to a couple friends about this and talking to my partner, and like it's coming up it's been coming up as something other people are asking about, and so I've talked about it, and what that has done is kind of make it real, I guess. Like a week from today is the day that I'll be having surgery, and I've been thinking about what what is being put to sleep going to be like, right? I don't know if they give you a general anesthetic or if they just kind of like knock you out. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'll find out more. I don't know how they do it in Canada, but but it's got me thinking about that, talking about that, and of course I told my daughter about it. I wanted her to sort of know this was coming up. I didn't want to spring it on her like the day before. I wanted to be able to present her with what's happening, and have her have time to process it before I go, and so we can. I just wanted to kind of like keep this present for us in a way, and as a result of that, I've sort of like undone my usual thing where it just stays an idea until right before it happens, and I've kind of made it real for myself earlier. And and I think what shows up, or what has been showing up, this is really just kind of the last day or two that I've had all these conversations and been reflecting on this. But what's really been showing up is there is a certain vulnerability that kind of comes in, that it's kind of inevitable. I think there's a certain level of like, okay, I'm going to go to another country and get cut open and stitched up again and then fly myself home. And there's just a level of, I don't know, vulnerability, softness, I would say. And it's interesting to me what happens to me when um, I sort of reflect on things like this, because I spend so much time, and I talk you know ad infinitum on this post about being in touch with our impermanence, just being aware of that, and how most great teachers insist that that's a really important element of living a full life, is recognizing that it's that it's a finite amount of time that we're on this earth. I was speaking to a friend yesterday, and we were talking about a book that I've talked about a lot on this post, but it's been a little while, called 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkeman. And he kind of bills himself, he used to be a time management guru. Now he sort of bills himself as an anti-time management guru, in the sense that he he promotes people coming back to the experience of time as presence, not the experience of time as a timeline with direction and the way in which we manage our time on a calendar and try and cram in as much as possible. The idea of time management is, if you manage your time well, then you can do more. But he sort of said that he found over the course of a career doing this, mastering this, and sort of like helping other people do this, he said he was finding that people might be getting more done, but they were getting less happy. And so coming back to an experience of time that is much more grounded in being present, being in this moment, and allowing this moment to deepen, and up against that, he also talks about 4,000 Weeks. The title of the book that's the title because 4,000 weeks is approximately what our life expectancy is at right now in the West and in America. And looking at the amount of time we actually have, not today, not this week, not in the next 6 months, but actually like in our life, what is likely to be our allotment of time, puts in perspective what we want to be doing with it. It wakes up an aspect of ourselves that just won't be ignored once we sort of accept our own finitude. And so I'm using this experience again. I'm honestly not too worried about this. It seems like a pretty safe procedure, and some of the best people in the world doing it. But you can't not kind of reflect. You can't not be or at least I can't. I can't not take this opportunity or take this experience and use it as a portal into, okay, this is a threshold. I'm going to go into this. I'm going to come out of it. It's going to be a before and after, a moment. There's going to be before this happened. There's going to be after this happened. There's going to be some recovery involved, right? There's going to be some. It's going to affect my life going forward, and it's waking me up. It's making me really look at what I'm doing with my time. Not that I wasn't already kind of in a phase of that, but this is definitely, it's definitely kind of a wake up call, and I'm enjoying it because again, usually I don't know why this is, but I don't often the experiences don't become real for me until usually later in the game. And for some reason this time, it's like I was talking to a great friend of mine yesterday, one of my lifelong friends since high school, and kind of went deep on a bunch of aspects of life, including this one. Had this conversation with my daughter where she's internalizing that this is happening and I'm going to be gone. Conversation with my wife where we're talking about this. And I can't help but feel slightly prodded to awaken, to take even more seriously the finitude of life, the delicacy of life, and just be in that slightly softer space, in that sort of, I had a great call yesterday with a colleague. It's what I talked about on my post about. It was an opportunity for healing, an opportunity for looking at a series of events and a couple of relationships and seeing what potential there was for the people involved to heal. And of course, I was relating this to the creative process because I think ultimately the creative process is fundamentally about healing. And that also felt like, okay, I'm being prompted for whatever reason to be open, to be a little vulnerable, to let out what's kind of what sometimes I kind of keep underneath at a safe level and don't necessarily. I mean, it's like depending on the relationship, right? Some people it's very easy to be totally totally vulnerable, totally open. But then there are those relationships in our life where it's like, well, should I? Is this a good idea? And I had one of those moments of sort of stepping up to that yesterday, and then diving in and feeling really positive about that choice. So you will hear more. That's kind of where I am today. It feels a little inconclusive, but I think I'm also still kind of absorbing the fact that this has gotten real for me like a week in advance. So now I'm going to be working with that internally, working with that for the next couple of days. So that's where I'm at today, folks. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you tuning in. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you soon.